I used to think I wanted like nice cars, nice homes. And ironically, I don't like those things. I used to hate going on trips. And now it's my favorite thing to do for the memory. So what it was really weird was when I understood who I was, I actually started to rediscover, or I guess discover, like what I really liked. And it motivated me so much more for those things.
A leader has to take the risks.
So Dustin Gutkowski, where are you from, man?
I'm Dallas. That's where we're at.
Okay. Okay. So
what
have Newport Beach?
Oh, really? We're coming. I was right. We're coming to Cali actually tomorrow, right? Yeah, we're coming to Cali tomorrow.
Nice, nice. What are you guys going to be doing out here?
So we're doing. So I have a podcast as well, but I host some fights. It's called Up Next. It's in Burbank, and then so I'm going out there, and then I interview the president of UFC Gym, the whole franchise, and he's out there. I think he's in Newport Beach, and yeah, so we're going out there, and then we'll do the weigh-in show. We host a live weigh-in show, and then we do the fights on Saturday, MMA fights. It's a lot of fun. My wife loves Cali, so I just like to get out there, man. It's such a beautiful place.
Well, that's awesome, man. Did you grow up in Texas?
I did. I grew up in Texas, but my grandfather was stationed out there in LA in Cali for a long time. So I grew up Lakers Dodgers fan. So I've always just been like, I love the view. It's like, dude, I tell people, I'm like, look, man, I love Texas. Like, Texas is home, and I'll probably always live in Texas. It's a great place to live. But there's nothing like Cali, man, with the weather. Like, you can go snowboarding to a lake, to the ocean within an hour, right? It's just crazy, man.
Yeah, it's definitely a great place to live. And so I'm reading about you, man. And I mean, you literally went from homelessness to creating a multi-million-dollar business, roofing business, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, like, give me a little bit of the early backstory of what happened to you, man, and how'd that happen, anyways?
Yeah. So I originally grew up right outside of Austin, and just was born into my mom was pregnant at 16, had me at 17, and she was just young, and I don't know who my real dad is, so no idea. Like, there was literally like 3 or 4 names on my birth certificate, and none of them were my dad. Just that type of situation. And so, hey, man, it is what it is. My mom married my stepdad. They were young. It was toxic. It was, drinking, drugs, abuse, the whole nine. And just there wasn't anything there, and it kind of isolated us from my mother's side of the family. Like, my mom's side of the family was like a good family, right? Like good grandparents and stuff like that. But then my mom and stepdad were so bad that it isolated us, right? And man, just grew up in this. We grew up in the trailer park. We grew up in this rundown trailers. A lot of times we didn't have electricity, running water, food, just any of that stuff. And you witnessed a lot of abuse. You witnessed, mom going after your stepdad beating your mom, and sleeping in the car because you're going away. Just evictions, and it was just. But at the time, man, you just think it's life. So looking back, it's like, man, how did I go through that? But at the time, it was just part of what you knew. And I had enough, man. When I was 14, I was like, man, I don't want to be in this life anymore. It's just, I think it created a lot of anxiety because of just what you see and what you do. And finally, one day I was like, man, I don't want this life anymore. And there was a fight. I decided not to be there, and I just left, and I didn't come home, and I just stayed away. And so, for a while, you can kind of sell your way to staying at someone's house for a couple of days here, a couple of days there, right? Especially in a smaller town, if you will. But eventually, kind of luck runs out, man. And I remember it was probably a couple months in, I was bouncing around, and then finally, I was just, I was sleeping on a park bench, man. It was really kind of rock bottom at 14, and so I got very resourceful though. Like, we had an old gym. We had an open campus in high school, and so we had this old gym. It was like the freshman B team locker room. So I would like store clothes in there and stuff, and go in there in the mornings and like work out and shower so it didn't look obvious, or play basketball because there's always like games going on. And I would keep clothes there because it was like, man, if I get there early enough, no one's going to see. I can shower and be able to take it if I wasn't staying at someone's house. And so, man, that was the early stuff. It was just a rough upbringing, right? But I mean, there's really nothing you can do about it at that age. But it does set you up for a lot of failures because you get accustomed to that type of life, and you think that life's acceptable. So that was probably the worst part of it. Is I noticed as I got older, a lot of the actions that I was used to, I did, like the acting out, lashing out. And I felt like it was accustomed to that because it was accepted where I was from, and it wasn't accepted, I feel like, in the real world, or it shouldn't be. And so it caused a lot of just, it took a lot of time to kind of, I think I was confused for a long time. I think I was trying to get over the trauma of it, but I wasn't getting over the trauma of what happened to me. I was getting over the daily disciplines and the habits that were created. That was probably actually the biggest challenge, was trying to overcome all those things that I thought were the way you're supposed to act. That was the hardest part.
And so when did it, I mean, that's just crazy, man. I mean, 14 years old, sleeping on a park bench, man. I mean, that's like, I have a 21-year-old and 18-year-old, and I couldn't imagine, it just them being in that situation. I mean, that's our duty, our job, man. That's our only job as parents, is to protect our kids. You know what I mean? And it's just wild that anything like that could ever happen, because I'm thinking in my brain, I'm thinking I would work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't care what I'd have to do. I'd pick up trash. Just nothing that I wouldn't do to make sure that my kids were provided for, And so to go through what you went through and then come out on the other side, like hugely successful, is badass, man. I mean, that is, a testament to total, absolute courage and determination and passion. And so, so you get kind of through those teenage years, and then what happens?
A bunch of more crap, more self-inflicted, right? Like, yeah, it was, and it is, man. And I think, like, in fairness to my mom and stepdad, I hate to say, a lot of it was drugs and alcohol. And I think that what people don't realize is, the substance changes who you are, and it can really change you over the course of time. And I feel like it's one of the reasons, like, I don't drink anymore. I don't know how long it's been, but it's been a few years. I don't drink anymore, and I don't like putting stuff like that in my body, of any kind of substance, because mind altering, because I can see the habits it creates. And when you don't deal with your feelings, it creates bigger issues. The demons get bigger. And so when you use alcohol to run from these demons, they become bigger, and they become bigger until the point where you actually can't beat them anymore, and you never really understand your feelings. And so I stopped, and I think that was the biggest problem. It's like, yeah, you said it, man. Like, what you said so perfectly. Like, we would do anything for our kids. Like, there's nothing, and I think that's what separates successful businessmen from not. Is if you show me a successful businessman and he's a great father, I know he's going to be successful in the business world, because I feel like it's that same type of attitude. Like, we'll do whatever it takes. And but I feel like when your mind's altered, you don't realize that it's not what's on your thoughts. So in fairness to them, I don't blame them anymore for what happened to me. But as I got older, I got through high school. It took me 5 years to graduate high school. I actually got my first job in the fitness industry. I was selling gym memberships. I just wanted a free gym membership, and I started doing that. And I think that really gave me kind of a purpose. I felt a part of something. For the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged somewhere, and the competitiveness and the sales aspect just really, like, sparked something in me. And I started to really find my competitive drive in that, and really, I would say, discovering myself. But I had a lot of failures in there, man, because I didn't know how to act. I never really had a male, role model. I became hyper successful in the sales industry, but I was still going out, like, drinking and partying and not doing the things I should have been doing. And it caused me to lose a lot of jobs along kind of my 15-year career, burn a lot of relationships. And, I was kind of a guy out there, just a gunslinger. And, I had a lot of fun doing it, and I had a lot of success along the way, but I really just, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I made a lot of excuses for my action. I thought that I should be treated a certain way because of what I went through, or it wasn't my fault. And it was a lot of that, right? It was always, I was a victim. I just glorified or summarize it. I was a victim. I was a professional victim. I thought that I was entitled to things, and it held me back my entire life. That was really the epitome of my, I had the success, but the failures was that. And it wasn't 24/7. I knew I wanted certain things, But I think what probably ultimately held me back through all that was I always focused on items. I didn't focus on who I was supposed to become. And I really believe that the key to life, to get anything you want or to have success, is you first have to figure out who you are and then who you want to become. And if you figure that out, then you understand what you really want. Like for me, man, I've just recently, over the last probably 5-6 years, and I'm 41, is I've understood who I was, and it's evolving. But I used to think I wanted like nice cars, nice homes. And ironically, I don't like those things. I used to hate going on trips, and now it's my favorite thing to do for the memory. So what it was really weird was when I understood who I was, I actually started to rediscover, or I guess discover, like what I really liked. And it motivated me so much more for those things. And so when I started to figure out, like, okay, I want to be a $1 billion brand. What does a $1 billion CEO look like? Okay, well, here's a list of probably the top 10, 15. Okay, what do they typically do? Okay, I want to be like that. What are those common traits they have? What type of people are they? Like, what stuff are they doing? Are they good fathers? And I started modeling myself really like, okay, what kind of person do you want to become? And then that allows me to know what I want. And what's so funny now is I stopped focusing on money. I stopped focusing on items. And it seems like those come in abundance now because I'm focused on other things, whether it be people, getting better, my friends and family, taking people with me along the journey, giving back, impacting people. And what I found was those things actually truly make me happy too. So I'm literally happy that I've ever been going through all this. That's kind of the journey to kind of get to this point, if you will, or up to this point.
Yeah. I mean, your philosophy is, build the people and the people build the business. And, obviously that's a great place to be, especially you want to build a successful brand, successful company. You're going to have to take care of your people. You're going to have to be a good leader. And I think you got it right, man. I mean, and I'm a few years older than you, but I came to that realization too. A lot of your story, by the way, resonates with me. I think me and you are going to become really good friends, by the way, because a lot of it, I was a bad kid growing up, got in a lot of trouble. Maybe not sleeping on benches. I think yours was a little rougher than mine, but certainly I was a little hoodlum kid that got in a lot of trouble, hated school, I went into sales at 21 and I just wanted to compete and win trophies and just, do great things. And it changed my life. But the point I'm trying to make is that over the last couple of years, you came to a realization that a lot of the things that we thought as young people were so important, as you get older, they're not that important. I mean, I love nice cars. I have a nice car. I love nice homes. I have nice homes. I love nice things. But the truth is, I'm about to get on a plane and go to Bali, Philippines, and Australia just because I want to. And so, and those are, to me, that's the beauty of freedom and choices and options. And of course, when you build a company and you build, the wealth and you know what to do with it and you invest it properly and you make good financial choices, what happens is the money starts to work for you. So you don't have to work anymore. The money actually starts working for you. And then you get to do the things that you want to do, make memories, travel, take care of your kids, take care of your family, do fun things with your teams. And I think you get it, man. I mean, 41 years old, that's awesome that you're getting it and you got it and you become really, really successful in the process. Now, you're building a major brand and you're building a major company and you've done just incredible things so far. I mean, what's it like now, though, in this political climate? Like, what do you think about kind of what's happening? The country is divided, right? Basically 50-50 right now. And you got open borders, you got inflation going through the roof, you got, all kinds of, crap happening in the streets that maybe didn't happen, 4, 5, 10 years ago. I mean, what do you think about what's happening in America right now?
Man, I think it's crazy, right? I think a lot of things are crazy. And it was funny. I had somebody the other day was like, well, I bet you're this, right? And I'm like, hey man, I try not to base people off of like I want to vote on like policies. I don't want to vote because you're a party, right? Like to me, it's like, hey man, I make, good money, and, I do like nice things, right? And I think we all have our, like, I think especially high competitive salespeople, like mine is shoes. Like I love shoes. I have like 300 plus shoes. I'm just, if you're out in Cali, I just did a custom pair from the surgeon. He's kind of the guy when you get custom shoes. And so I love custom shoes, right? Now it's not a $500,000 car, but it's still, I think we all have our stuff. And like, I spoil my wife, drives like the nice car because of the kids and just everything like that. But I was talking to someone the other day and they were like, well, I bet you lean this way because of this. I was like, nah, man, you'd be surprised. And I said, look, man, like, yeah, I want to pay less taxes. Like, of course, I own a business and I contribute. Like, we do a lot. I have 100 plus employees, and I contribute a lot to the economy, and I would like not for 40% of my stuff to go to taxes. And yes, I want to help people in need for a certain time, right? But also, I lean far left on, I don't want people to be treated differently because of the color of their skin, their religion. I don't agree with that. I want people to be treated fairly. My wife's family immigrated here from another country, the right way. I want people to come in for the American dream. Like, I want people to be able to express themselves. And I think what's so lost is we get so offended if somebody doesn't agree with us, and we don't want to have open discussions. And I think for me, it's like, I don't want to fall in either way. I want to talk and seek to understand, because maybe if I can understand where you're coming from, right? And I have a rule, and my rule is, look, man, is don't fuck with kids. And I think that's the boundaries, because they're the future. And as a father, it's like, look, man, we can agree to disagree and have a lot of things, but like, you don't mess with another man's family, right? Or woman. You don't mess with, their significant other. You don't mess with their kids. And like, that's my one rule I'll stand up for. And like, look, you might have different beliefs than me, and I'm okay with that. But we need to be able to talk about them on what's the greater good of everybody. And I do. And so that's why I try to focus on people. And I know it's huge, but it was crazy, man. Like, I recently did a podcast with Patrick Bet-David. So I had Patrick on my podcast, and this is right when he hired Chris, the guy from CNN. Now I'm going blank. Chris Coma, yes. And the hate comments, it was insane. It was like, oh, I can't believe like you would have this guy on your podcast because he just hired Chris. He's a fraud. Oh, I used to like you, but I hate you now because you did this. You hired this guy. And it's like, the one thing I know about Patrick was, whether he agrees or disagrees with you, he wants to hear from your point of view. And he wants a discussion. I'm the same way. I don't agree with anything anyone does, right? Like, I mean, everything anyone does, we have disagreements, but it was just crazy for me to be like, wow, man, like, you love this guy because he hired someone. You're just, it was wild, but that's the world we live in. And I'm like, what's the solve for it, right? And then I do partly think that social media doesn't change you, it exposes you. And so right now, everything's so highlighted, man. I remember when we were hoodlums, right? Like, as you said, we were out running the streets. Like, hey, bro, if we would have had social media when I was coming up, like, it'd been a different world, right? I think part of it is, too, as humans, we gravitate towards the negative. And so it's like, if I'm on my way to work and there's no traffic and everything's good, I don't call my wife and go, babe, guess what? I made it to work on time. No traffic. There was no wrecks. The sky was blue. Feels good. But if people can't drive, there's a wreck, I'm late, there's so much traffic, I call, babe, I couldn't believe the traffic. So I think we naturally gravitate towards that. And then with social media and the news right now, they've latched a hold of that. So it's like, let's just show all the negative. I do feel like there's a lot of good out there, and I think people are doing a lot of good. We're just not highlighting it. And I think we need to double down on highlighting the good people do. And because the people I'm around, I'm like, man, I don't see it. It's just like when I go to California, people are like, why do you go to California? Their politics. I'm like, hey, man, I don't go for the politics. I go to visit the people. I go to visit the places, the history. Like, it's great. And every time I'm in Cali, I don't see all that. And I go out there a lot, right? It's just, but we focus on that. If you watch the news, you would think Cali is just, hey, man, you can't walk down the street without people picketing their political beliefs, right? And it's like, it's not that, man. And the people that I talk to, it's a vibe. It's great, good people. But I think we get it so caught up on social media. We get it so caught up on the news, and then we don't want to talk to the opposing party, if you will. And so it's just, then it becomes, that's all we see, because that's all you're looking for. That's all you're listening to. And so for me, I don't stay neutral. I'm obviously things I stand for, but it bothers me with how you can't even have a conversation with someone because we just rather be right than get it right. And we don't even want to seek to understand. We're just like, oh, no, I saw it. That's the truth. That's what it is. And I think it becomes a huge issue. And I think eventually, like, someone has to step up and really take control, right? We need leadership. Leadership is at a premium right now. And like, I think the biggest thing is just like in any business, we're just lacking leadership right now from a lot of places. It's not just a particular party. We need leadership in a big way to take control. And look, it's the American dream, man. That's why people come to this country to want to live it. And yet, we have people hating it. Do we have issues in America? Absolutely. But bashing is not going to fix it, right? We got to figure out, work together to fix it. So it is. Well, it's crazy.
I think you're right on, man. I mean, there's no question the country right now more than ever. And the reason why I'm passionate about talking about politics and understanding politics and, just trying to stay on top of these type of things is because these are affecting us big time. I mean, again, there's a lot. I mean, America, I flew my flag, man, for 15 years, never took it down. I mean, I'm that most patriotic guy you ever meet in your life. Like, I love America, man. I mean, I don't just like America. I love America. And I love America because it gave somebody like me with no college education, hated school, an opportunity to become financially free. I mean, all my dreams, I mean, not all of them have come true yet, but 75% of my dreams, at a pretty decently young age have come true. And
you're still working on it.
And I'm still working. Oh yeah. I mean, it's progress equals happiness, man. So I'm always making progress, but I just feel like it's wild because if we don't protect America, right, if we don't get the politics right, these guys on the left, which is weird to me, which is really crazy to me, these guys on the left, they're destroying America. Yes, of course, they're not all destroying America. I don't want to be too dramatic, but there's certain people in certain factions of the political party on the left that they literally are trying to destroy America. I mean, who opens up the borders for millions now, millions and millions of undocumented people coming into the country? We're talking rapists and murderers, and they're letting people out of jails to come over here. Pedophiles. I mean, talk about messing with your kids, right? There's pedophiles. I mean, literally America right now, Dustin, we're paying for trafficking of kids. Kids are coming from South America, and they're literally have little wristbands that show an address, and then they send them to some place in Chicago saying that, oh, this is my cousin, you need to send me to. They're trafficking kids in America, and we're paying for it. Our tax dollars are paying for it. This is the kind of shit that just it infuriates me because it's not right. America is a great country, and yes, man, the future is bright. The future is good, but if we don't protect it, guess what? In 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, it's not going to look like America anymore. And I think that's sad. That's sad.
It was crazy. So my wife was going to I don't remember if it was a birthday, like a girl's birthday, and the trip was going to be to Mexico. And I, as the mother of my children, we have 3 small children, so mine are 6, 3, and 1, right? So it's like, not that I want, but when small children, it's like, look, man, this is the mother of my children. I'm gonna protect the castle at all costs, right? And she was like, go to Mexico. We're like, let's talk about it. And I'm like, hey, I offered to pay for the girls to go somewhere else. I was like, I don't feel comfortable. Bunch of girls going to Mexico. Why don't we do like an all-inclusive in Florida or something like that? I'm down to pay. There's a price difference, but I just want you girls to be safe, right? You're the mother of my children. I don't care, but that's just where I feel. And so it was crazy, man, because we saw this stat about the percent of people that go missing in Mexico compared to the United States, and it wasn't even close. Literally, it was so much safer to go to Mexico and have a less likely of being abducted with a cartel, but yet in our minds, we don't think that. You have a better chance of your kid not only getting abducted here and going missing and never found, and yourself, which was crazy to me. And I was like, wow, I'm worried about my wife going to Mexico, and I should be worried about her going to the grocery store. right? Like that's crazy to me. And it really was. And it's like, you know, obviously we as the population grows, you know, the risk grows, and it's just, I think it's a weird time right now, right? I think it's not a perfect thing, but it seems like there is a weird time, right? And there needs to be more focus on leadership and getting it right. It's like, where do you start when you have people that can't even talk about it, right? Without getting offended. It's like, we want to be offended about being offended. And that's not going to get you anywhere. And so, you know, for me, it's like, that's why I even tell our guys here, I'm like, look, man, like, don't get into politics with people, because why does it matter for you in business? And we actually had a really interesting guest on our show a couple of weeks ago, where he's from Ukraine and his wife is from Russia. And they're both here married. And so the conflict, and so talking about that was really powerful with him, about how him and his wife deal with it. And then how do they not put that into their business, right? Because I think a lot of times you can rub it off in the business. And I do think you have to stand for something or you fall for anything, right? Like the old cliche. But also at the same time, for me, is like, business is business. And I try to keep it like separate. And I try to not get, you know, but I do it with sports too. Like, I live in Dallas, and I was a Lakers fan and Dodgers fan. And when I was younger, I would bash the teams here. And I remember people were like, you know what, man, like, I don't want to be around you because all you do is bash my sports team. And I'm like, why do you care? And as I've gotten in business now, I haven't watched a Lakers game in 4 years, right? But because just busy. But I would consider myself a Lakers fan. My son's name's Kobe. My daughter's name's Gianna. And, you know, like, everything I have is Lakers or Dodgers. But as far as sports, but I don't get caught up in it. And now I reversed it, because I was like, wow, man. And I remember it was like 6 years ago, this guy was going to do business with me. He sent me an email saying, man, I followed you on social media, and your last 6 posts were bashing like the Cowboys or the Rangers. He's like, I just don't want to do business with someone like that.
Wow, that's wild.
That, right? Because I was like, wow, man, he's right, though. Why am I just being a hater? And so I was like, what does my sports have to do with my fans? And so I actually started saying, look, man, if they're not playing the Lakers or Dodgers, why do I want them to win? I live in this city. This city's home. Let's cheer them on. And so I've completely changed on that kind of stuff. It's like, I start to understand where other people are coming from, and I want to seek to understand and see if, like, man, I never even thought about that side. I never thought about why you're coming from that way. Now let's talk about where I'm coming from. And I think if we can do that more, we can start the conversation. I think
that's the real answer, Dustin, is everybody trying to understand why the other people feel the way they feel. And through these conversations, when we start having these, I think, super important conversations, we start to go, oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't know that, that there are political leanings towards allowing things like this to happen that could destroy America. Other people don't know that unless we talk about it. Now, somebody else might come in and say, well, do you know why they're doing that? They're allowing it for a certain reason. Well, if they give me another angle, or they give me a reason why it's better, like for our borders to be open and just let people flood through. If there's a good reason in how that makes America better, I'm down, man. Just show me the answer, because I don't care what political party somebody is. Like you kind of had mentioned a little bit early, I want to talk about, real issues and real, challenges that we can make better and solutions. Okay. So just on another note here, because you built an incredible team, right? You built an organization of 100 people. Where was the transition for you into building a roofing company? Where did that start? How did it start? Where did it come from? And how'd you do it?
It was weird. I was actually, at the time, I was living in Michigan, in Detroit. I was running some health clubs up there, some gyms. And the owner of all the gyms, who was worth a lot of money, got his money from roofing. Okay. And I started seeing people have success in roofing, a lot of it. And I was kind of like, man, why not me? And I had interviewed a few people up there, and they turned down the job making $20,000 more a month to get into roofing. And I was like, man, what is going on? And, man, ironically, a buddy of mine from Dallas calls me up and goes, hey, man, I'm trying to expand my roofing company. Do you know anybody that'd be interested in sales? I saw your post the other day. are you still in Dallas? I said, no, man, but I know people that are looking in Dallas. And that was why my post was. He goes, well, man, if anyone's interested in sales, send them to me. I was like, all right, cool. So I was like, man, why does this roofing keep coming up? And it finally clicked. I was like, man, maybe I need to do roofing. So I told my wife, and she was like, you're crazy. I don't know why you think you'd be into roofing. And but I just, it wouldn't get out of my mind. And I was like, man, I need to do something different. And I think the reality was, the thing that hit me, I never got a chance I love Disney World, Disneyland. I love them both, right? Like I'm going to Disneyland this summer and Disney World for Christmas. And it's a creative place for me. And I think it was crazy. Somebody sent me something the other day that was like, the adults that go to Disney just grew up too fast, and now them taking their children there is a way to them to relive their childhood. And it hit me, and I love it. My kids love it. It's a great time. We go, family bond, whatever. And we were lucky enough when my son was like 4 months old, 5 months old, we were able to afford to go to Disney World for a couple of days. That was my first time I'd ever been. And I fell in love with it. And what I realized, the trip, $4 or $5 grand, whatever it costs, it's a significant amount of money. I was making $150,000 to $175,000 a year. And after taxes, after paying your bills, I was able to save $500 to $1,000 a month. That was if we didn't do anything. That was like basically living. And I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, man, I'm never going to get a chance to take my kid to Disney again unless I save up for 10 years. And I just didn't want that life. And people say it's like, well, Disney, that's your motivation. I'm like, yeah, man, it wasn't just Disney, but it was these trips with my family. Me not having a family, when my wife first met me, she's like, let's go on vacation. I didn't want to. I hated vacations. I don't know why. It's maybe because I didn't go on them. But when we had our children, I was like, man, this is the greatest thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I want to cherish this moment. I want to create these experiences that I never got with my dad. And I'm not going to do it doing this job, man. I'm not going to save any money. And I'm going to be that dude that wakes up one day and I'm 60 years old. And my son asks me, Dad, what should I do when I grow up? And I'm going to be like, you can do anything you want. And he's going to say, why didn't you, Dad? And I don't want to have that conversation. And so, man, let me go out there and, man, prove it right or prove it wrong. Let me do something. And I said, man, I'm going to go take a leap of faith. I want to do this roofing thing. It's straight commission, but there's guys making $250,000, $300,000 a year, man. I'll smoke these dudes. I'm super competitive. So my wife's like, you're a fucking idiot. You're crazy. But she always believed in me. And we moved back to Texas. And, man, I was terrible at it for the first 3 months. Blew all my money, on bills and stuff. Got down to like $300 in my checking account, was on my last limb. My wife's not working. Now she's going back to get a job. Man, I'm driving Uber Eats at 35 years old, going from this job making 150, 175, I'm down to where I said I'd never be again. I'm that dude that said I'd do anything in the world for my kids. So I'm working all day in roofing. I'm getting off work, taking my kid and my wife for me to drive Uber Eats, hoping someone cancels the order so we get free food, literally living like that. And I was just down, man. And I was like, wow, I got to do something. I've got to let go of this and go all in. And I finally did. And I started crushing it. And I just went into sponge mode, learning, listening to audiobooks. I stopped listening to music. Why am I listening to music on my drive to work? Listen to a sales training, listen to a leadership training. Stop listening to that crap because what's on your mind, your ears are going to hear and your eyes are going to see. And I'm looking for problems, not opportunities. I'm looking for all these challenges and not solutions. And so I just flipped it and I said, okay, I'm just going to fail my way to success. And I think I spent so much of my time trying to make other people happy and was concerned of what other people thought of me that I had a million friends, but I was all alone. I had so many friends, but I was unhappy. And I said, I'm going to make myself happy. I'm going to chase my goals and dreams. And if I'm all alone doing that, then great. I would rather do that and be happy. And had the conversation with my wife, and we went all in and started killing it. And during that company, though, look, our goals and dreams didn't align. This guy had his vision, and he was successful at it, and I had mine. And I told myself that if I'm going to create this legacy for myself, then I've got to do it with myself. I need to go create it. I need to stop trying to push my legacy onto other people. And I said, I'm going to open my own company. And my wife was like, okay, here we go again. And I just remember she told someone, she's like, my husband believes the crazy shit that comes out of his mouth. Like, that's the difference. Is like, some people say these things and they don't believe them. She's like, he says them and they sound crazy, but he believes them. And I had this belief that, man, I'm going to create something special. Like you said, man, all those hoodlums out there that didn't have a chance, that shouldn't have had a chance, all the ones that everybody doubted them the whole life, all the ones that were counted out, that, you know, the talented ones, the underdogs. I was like, why don't I go create something for us? And even the kids that grew up with a silver spoon, but they were judged because they had a silver spoon, man, come make something of yourself here. Prove all those people wrong. I was like, let's create it for people like us that didn't have the opportunity. And that was really the goal. That was the mission. And it was like, let's create a roofing company that takes care of their customers, right? Like, even when we make a mistake, let's make it right. Even when something goes wrong, let's fix it. And then let's care about people and build something special. And that was literally the goal. And so that was how it was just like, I'm going to go all in with this, and I'm going to, you know, be what I thought. And there's been engineering along the way, man. I've had to reinvent myself, because for first 2 years, I led the company in sales, and I was a hustler, and I was a grind, and I was doing it all. And what happened year 2 was we weren't growing in people, because I was so focused on, like, in the business, that I wasn't focusing on adapting. So I had to reinvent myself. So I had to change from the hustler sales guy to a leader CEO. And I've had to reinvent myself and constantly work on different strategies, because I'm a competitor and I want to win, and I want to take your soul as a competitor. Like, I don't play nice in the sandbox when it comes to the competition. I don't try to I don't try to bash you or any of that, but hey, man, I'm coming for your lunch money. And anyone, like, I don't want to be your friend. And I'm on that, like, and I have a really hard time dealing with people that are average. I have a really hard time dealing with people that don't want to win. I have a really hard time dealing with people that don't work as hard as I do. And that was a detriment, because I pushed off great employees. And I had to readapt myself and say, man, like, championships are won with role players. Like Michael Jordan, the greatest to ever do it, had role players that helped him win. And you need those people. And I started to say, man, why don't I value what people do well? They don't have to be me. And thank God for it, because I'd probably want to kill me if I was dealing with me all day. And so I had to reinvent myself. So I go from, you know, in our second year in business, we did over 10 million. So people were like, you're the man, you're the man. I was making it, but I was like, no, man, I'm a terrible leader. I'm not good. I got to grow. I got to be better. And so I've had to reinvent myself along the way and re-engineer it and figure out how I can be better for my family, be better for our team.
What are a couple of looking back, maybe a couple of tweaks that you made, a couple of, like, you know, things that you did to get people to stay, to get people to follow you, to get people to want to be in your environment, to help you build the team, you know? So what are a couple of the little things that you might have, if, you know, because there's a lot of people, a lot of small entrepreneur business owners watching right now, and they're thinking in their mind, okay, give me some practical things that I need to do.
Man, it's crazy. So we have a workout group, and this might actually tie into it. So we have a group of 12 of us, and we work out at my house in my 2-car garage, which is a full gym. And we do it 6 days a week at 6 a.m. And we, at the end of the workout, we give a good word. And it's part of our culture here. We work out there not just for the workout, but it's for the brotherhood. And we give this good word. There's prayer. We talk about struggles. We talk about the good. And today for me, it was like, look, if you want to be successful, the work is the work. And we get so confused at the strategies. And I'm going to give you some, because I think you got to have tactical bullet points. But we want to sexy up success, and it's not sexy, right? It's a dirt. And what people want to do is they want to have a morning routine. It doesn't matter. They want to have the 15 things successful entrepreneurs do before they wake up. Bullshit. Doesn't matter. The work is the work, and it needs to be done. And success doesn't care if you're in a good mood. It doesn't care if you're in a bad mood. It doesn't care what you're going through. It doesn't care what you ate for breakfast. It doesn't care what time you woke up. You have to do the work. And I think I've never lost track of that. Now, on the flip side, I exercise 6 days a week. It has given me a mental edge over Dustin 2 years ago. It has made me be able to think clearer, make better decisions, larger decisions. So if you take two people that are reading books, that are exercising, eating right, and they both work 12 hours a day, and the other guy is eating bad foods and doing all these things, this guy will be more successful with the better routine, hands down. I'm talking just in the grind. You have to fall in love with the work. You cannot shortcut the work. But I will tell you, the key that I think for any entrepreneur is understand fully where you want to go. Because if you want to grow and you don't know where you're going to go, nobody else is going to follow you, because how can they follow you with no directions? Right? Understanding clearly, like if you talk to me and you call someone on our team, they're like, what does he tell you? Hey man, we're chasing $1 billion dreams. We are going to take over this industry. We are going to do something with the RR brands that's never been done before, right? We do three things, man. We care about each other, we care about growth, and we care about winning, right? They know what we're going to do. They know the goal. They know what we're working on for the next 12 to 24 months. They know the next steps. Every meeting we're talking about what we're going to do. So now they're following and they want to be a part of it, because people either have to have a vision or they have to believe in one. And if you're not talking about your vision, then they're going to go to the guy that is. And so I think as an entrepreneur, you have to understand what you want. So if you want to be mom and pop, be mom and pop. So if you want to be, let's say, $100 million company, okay, great. Now you need to start implementing that. And I would say the best strategy that I can tell you that changed my life was I stopped focusing on where I was at and I focused on where I was going. So operate where you're going, right? And for me, it allowed me to make hires for the future, right? And so when you're starting out and you have a business, and let's just say you and I start a roofing company, and it's just you and I, and you're the ops guy, maybe I'm the sales guy, or vice versa. It doesn't matter. We're going to set clear direction. You're handling sales, I'm handling operations. Great. Now we got it. We're going to hit a peak at our office of, hey man, we're probably gonna make good money. Let's say you're selling 8 to 10 roofs a month, and I'm contributing 1 or 2. We're doing 10 roofs a month, and I'm doing all the op stuff, and we're profiting, say, 50 grand a month, right? And we're putting in 10, 15% up. But hey man, we're putting 15, 20K in our pocket after 6 months. Sounds like a pretty good gig. Well, most people don't want to take the next step because they feel like by hiring someone, I'm eating into my profit.
Right.
Me, I'm looking at what task are you and I doing that we could pay someone 3 to 5 grand to do that frees us up to do more. And so that's what I started doing. I started saying, okay, look, I'm being bogged down, Daniel, by these almost elementary task data entry stuff. Right. I'm going to hire this person, and then it's going to free me up to sell 4 roofs a month. It's going to free you up to do this. And then I looked at how could we grow the sales team? Well, you're doing 8 deals, but what if we had 10 guys doing 2 deals? Well, now we're doing, even if you go down to 5, we're still selling now 25 roofs instead of your 8. And so let's invest in where we want to go. So if we sell X amount of dollars, we're going to outsell our spending. And so I just invested in the people. I was like, okay, we need to hire somebody that could be a future sales manager. Let's give this guy 3 to 5 grand base plus commission, and let's look to grow to take some of the stuff off your plate. And that way you're not doing less now. You're just doing more of what you're good at. So it was the ability to identify people, what they're good at, let them triple down on that. And then the things they sucked at, I hired somebody else to take care of it for them. And it was every time I made a certain amount of money, man, I invested in hiring someone else because I knew where I was going instead of putting it in my pocket. And so many entrepreneurs, I talk to them and I'm like, hey man, who do you have on your team? Well, it's just me. Why? Well, I don't have any money. Well, how much money are you paying yourself? Well, X. Well, pay that to somebody else and they could do this and free you up. Right. And that was probably the one strategy that I doubled down on. I see a lot of people, they just don't do it, man. They're so afraid to make the mistake that's actually the biggest mistake is not making a mistake. And
so when you started making a bunch of money, you started investing, right? So I know you like to invest into different sectors. And I mean, did you invest into liquid death water or something like that, and goat fuel or something like that? Are you a part investor in those companies? Did I read that right?
Yeah. So I invested in liquid death. I invested in goat fuel with Jerry Rice. Another big one is Rein Coffee. That's Cole Hauser. And a few other people.
And have they done pretty well for you? I mean,
yeah, really, really well, right? And it's funny is we brought some of our team in, allowed them to invest in it as well to keep that unity in the culture for the leaders that have been here a
And so how did you come to that realization that that investment was good at the time? Like, how do you, what's your, what do you look for when you look at a startup or something like that?
I look at the people that are involved. I feel like it's not what you do, it's who you do it with. And I feel like all your success, so when so many things, like, let's just use you, go back to you and me and as an example or an analogy, is that I feel like a guy like you and I could do any business and be successful. You could literally throw us somewhere and we're going to figure it out, right? Immediately on the call, winners win. That's a skill set that people like, they don't realize is such a great skill. It's who you do it with. And so I always look at people, because you can have the greatest product, and if you have just terrible people running it, it's not going to go anywhere. And vice versa, you could actually have some things that, like, look at what we do. We do roofing. Roofing's the least sexiest thing in the world. Roofing is not fun. And it's why, it's because who I do it with. And so when I'm looking at a business, it's not how can I scale it, it's who can I scale it with. Who can I partner with? Who can I work with? And so for someone like, just using you and I, it's like, I could partner with you on something and I know we're going to take it to the top. So I look at not what's really in it, it's who's in it, right? Because if someone's overspending, we can fix that. If someone's not spending enough, we can fix that. If we need to, invest a little bit of cash, we can do that. But the reality is, no matter if we do all those things, if we don't have the right people on the bus, it's all going to go right back to where it is. So I always look for who, not what or how.
And when you think about because you're a results oriented guy. I mean, so as far as what I'm seeing from you today is you expect high standards, you expect results, because you have that results oriented mindset. And, how do you motivate people to continue on working hard? How what do you do to motivate people?
Yeah, so we have a team lead meeting every Monday, and we have a leadership meeting every Tuesday for our organization. And 70 to 80% of what we talk about is like what people are going through, their mindset. I feel like people aren't motivated really by money. They think they are, but I try to constantly keep them motivated by who they're going to become and the vision, and talking about what they're going through. And I think being vulnerable as well. I'm not afraid to tell my story. I'm not afraid to tell when I'm down in the dumps. And we talk about a lot of that stuff. And every meeting, man, we try to get into something about your mindset, what you're going through, what to expect, and to tell the story of like, look, guys, this is what you're going to experience. This is what you might be feeling. And it resonates with a lot of people, because when you just talk about numbers all the time, nobody gives a shit. Nobody really cares. And so, and I do, like, for the company, man, we have calls. We do like, strategies about writing down your goal. Who do you want to become? Thinking outside the box, asking for feedback on things we can do, having those people talk. We do company contests a lot, right? To keep people motivated and feel appreciated. We've done UFC. We've done a Disney trip with our top 10 people. We've done, like, workout retreats. I try to check on them for who they are as well, right? Like, hey, how's it going today, man? Like, oh, I got 3 deals. I'm not even asking about your deals. Like, how are you? And I think my mindset is I look for opportunities to help. Instead of looking what people are doing wrong, I do try to like what they're doing right. But when you see someone's like, they post on social media about their family, man, take the time to reach out to them and say, hey, is everything okay? If you need anything, let me know. Do like little special things like that, and look for those opportunities to inject, because that's the ultimate feeling. It's been scientifically proven. People will work somewhere for less money if they feel they're a part of it and they care. And I do that. I do events at my house. I try to help them with, if it's financially, if it's something they're going through, show them I care. When they call me, I answer. And if I can't, let me call you right back. And I'm having 20, 30-minute calls on a Sunday, not, hey, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And I think that's what really keeps people motivated, because they see me getting kicked in the face and keep going. And I'm not like, oh, I'm perfect, I don't make mistakes. I'm like, man, I've made some huge mistakes in RR, right? Like I chose one guy over another. This guy was a multi-million-dollar producer. This other guy turned out to be a scumbag, and I costed us as a company. And I own things like that. I own when I get out of line, and I think we're all vulnerable. We get up and talk about what the things we go through in our meetings. And I've never had more people cry in like meetings, because we get very vulnerable, but that's who we are. And I think that allows people to feel, like a part of something. And it does. We don't have words on our wall for culture. We don't do that. But we talk about where we want to go, and we talk about the things we want to accomplish. We do things with our families. It was funny. I do a word every year, and I send out an email the first of the year talking about the word of the year. And this year the word was standard, right? And it was like, let's raise our standards, not professionally, man. Let's raise our standards personally. Like, let's be better. Like, let's do more. Let's be better fathers, better mothers, better people, better for our customers, better friends, right? Let's treat our bodies better. Let's treat our minds better. Let's raise our standard, because your standard is what you do day in and day out, no matter who's watching. And so I'm always trying to send things out to push people outside their comfort zone. I'm trying to, and I sometimes I push too far, but I firmly believe, like, I would rather you hate me and be great than be your friend and watch you fail. And my ultimate goal is, I just don't want to see people around me fail. And I think people can pick up on that. And it's an everyday 24/7 job, but it's what I believe in. And I think it's my duty as a leader. It's no different than being a father. Like, I made a post on Facebook the other day because I had a friend that just felt like wasn't being a good dad. And I told him, I was like, I just can't be your friend anymore, man. You're a terrible father. And anyone who's a terrible father, I don't want to be associated with. And my post on social media was like, look, I have one rule. And if you're a bad dad, I can't associate with you, because you've already turned your back on the one person that needed you most. But I think in leadership, when you choose to be a leader, right, and you open a company that you're essentially choosing to be a leader, that's your duty, man. It's like being a parent. Like, there's people out there that are counting on you with their livelihood. They believed in your company over every other company. They put their family's future in your hands. And I just don't take that lightly. And I want to help them succeed at all costs. Now, I can't with everybody, and I understand that.
Right.
But that's my mission, right? And it's to create leaders that are trying to do the same thing. And look, man, we fight, we have issues, we yell at each other, we do all that stuff. But it's like, it's part of our stuff. Like, our families hang out together, and it's really a lifestyle. And so I think that keeps people motivated, because it's not just about work. It's about the person, it's about the people, it's about the event, it's about all those different things we do together. And it's cool, man. We just created something very, very special that it's hard to pinpoint exactly, but it's an everyday thing of that.
So we're going to be winding down in a couple of minutes, but man, I'll tell you, this is a powerful talk, man. I'm just like, I've probably talked least in this podcast than any other I think I've interviewed over 250, celebrities, business leaders, multi. I mean, but I'm so impressed by you, Dustin. You have no idea, man. I mean, you're an absolute winner. You're an absolute stud. Like, you got it down. You got your mindset down. You got your focus down. You got your family down. You got everything down, man. And I'll tell you, I mean, you are building a great life, man. Just make sure that you continue to invest your money, continue to have lots of streams of income, because you're going to live a fun, I mean, you've already lived a great life, but man, your life is just going to keep on getting better. So you should be very proud of yourself. I'm proud of you. But I think you're a total absolute badass. All right. So what are some of the last pieces of advice? Like, if you were talking to that entrepreneur that, maybe it's just not happening, because, you've been there before, right? We're both in sales, man. My whole life has been sales. And, just some days it just sucks. Some days you're getting the shit kicked out of you. Some days people just aren't saying yes, and it's just not happening, right? Sometimes there could be a little bit of a financial struggle. So many things happen in the world of an entrepreneur, because we're the risk takers, man. We're the backbone of America, man. I mean, America needs small business owners more than anything. And what's that last piece of advice you can give that man or woman that says, you know what, I want a great life like Dustin too, man. I want to provide for my kids. I want to provide for my family. I want to do great things too. But man, it's fucking hard, man. And I'm struggling right now, and things just ain't happening for me. What do you tell them?
Yeah, I think it's recognize that, right? Like, I think that's this misconception that entrepreneurship is not supposed to be hard, or like life is. It's hard, man. It's like what you just said, and like, embrace that, Like embrace that and know that here's why it's hard, because nobody else is willing to do it. And on the other side of everything that's hard or sucks, there is something great. And you can get there if you just don't quit. I actually enjoy when it gets hard because I know that nobody else is going to do it. Like I know that people don't quit like because they don't want to do it. They quit when it gets hard. And you have to understand that if it's what you truly want, it's going to be hard, and embrace it, right? But know that every great thing is on the other side of hard, and nobody else is going to do it. And then since nobody else will do it, that's why nobody else has it. So I think recognizing that and being okay with that, right? Just go like, look, it's okay to feel this way. It's okay to be frustrated, but don't allow yourself to stay, because the thing we don't realize is winning is contagious, but so is losing. And so when you're feeling that way, man, recognize why you're feeling that way. Like I'm in a rut. Okay. Why? To me, there is always, it's not really that people have a work ethic issue. They don't really sometimes have a skill set issue for certain things. It's that they don't know what they really want. Right. And so, and I figured in my life, there's always been one, maybe two things that are holding me back from being successful. Every time I was in a rut, it was typically because of one or two things. I was drinking too much. Right. I was hanging around the wrong people. I was sleeping in, whatever it is. And so I would say if you're in a rut and it feels hard, man, first say that's okay. It's supposed to be hard. Now, what are you going to do about it? And the second thing is self-audit who you're hanging out with, what you're doing, because I promise you, you're only one or two things of adjusting where you want to go. And like for me, it was, I think I spent a lot of time hanging out with the wrong people. And then I would drink every weekend, man. And I would go out and party and drink heavily. And it held me back because you don't get rid of your hangover to Tuesday, Wednesday. And by the time you're starting to get operating again, you fall right back in that trap. Now you might have a little bit of success, but you're going to be average. You're going to be like everybody else. And so I had to eliminate things out of my life, who I was hanging out with, the stuff that I was doing, and then my life excelled. And so I think it's like when you're struggling as an entrepreneur, man, self-audit a few of the things you're doing. And typically, like, you'll notice, like, for me, I notice when I either get into a mental struggle or something's going on, I'm like, okay, what am I doing? All right, well, I'm not doing this. There we go, right? Like, there's always that one or two thing. And I just think, like, understand it is hard, but reverse your mind. So when it starts getting hard and you go, man, like, I want to quit. This is hard. This sucks. Go, hey, man, this sucks for everybody else, for not for me. Because guess what? When I get on the other side of this, there's nobody there but me. And I'm going to have everything I ever wanted. This shit's fun. And if you change it, it becomes like, I'm going to do something nobody else is going to do because everybody else is feeling like this. Let me just go a little bit longer, because if I quit, it's never going to happen. If I keep going, I will eventually get there. And so you literally fail your way to success. You fail and fail and fail, and eventually you'll get there. And just say, look, it sounds cliche, but don't quit, man, because it's supposed to be hard. And if you just change your mindset. Like, I had a problem, and I'll open this, probably help someone out there. When something came up, like, let's say you called me up and you work for me or you're a vendor and you're like, oh man, this went on. My immediate reaction was like, holy shit, the sky is falling. This is the biggest problem of our life. And I focused on problems. That's all I did. Was when a problem happened, I focused on the problem. Oh man, I can't believe they did that. I would call up, hey Joe, can you believe Daniel did that? Oh, yeah, me either, man. Hey, Steve, can you believe Daniel did that? Oh, yeah, me either. I realized it was holding me back because I go, man, where am I getting with this? When a problem comes up, okay, here's the problem. Now, what's the solution? I don't focus on problems. I only focus on solutions. And it could literally change my mindset. And then what I started doing was saying, okay, this happened. Okay, great. This is what I'm thinking. Hey, Daniel, I got a question for you, buddy. So this hit my doorstep. Hey, the first thing, it sucks. It's a big problem. But here's what I got. I got these 2 or 3 solutions. What do you think? And now instead of my buddy calling like, man, Dustin only calls to complain, he's like, oh, well, I like that one. Have you ever tried this? Never thought about that. What about this? So now we became solution oriented.
Right,
and what happened, I started building my circle of complainers to solution problems. And then what I realized was every time I had a problem, I just focused on a solution and I was able to solve it. Or the best trait of it all is a lot of your problems go away because they're really not that big of a deal. And by not focusing on them of a problem, it's actually a good way to get past them. because you realize after about 24 to 48 hours, that little problem wasn't really a problem. It just made you emotional. So you thought it was bigger than what it was. And so it was easy to move on. And so if you can just do some of those things, man, it helped me tremendously. And it sounds so easy. And it's like, oh, this guy's an idiot. That's not, but it is. You're going to focus on the problem or you're going to focus on the solution. One's going to provide an outcome and one's going to get you anywhere.
It's funny because you said a little bit earlier, you said that, you knew that nobody would do it, and I remember driving home and it was probably 11 o'clock at night. I had to drive up into the mountains and I remember it was snowing a little bit. I mean, we don't get a lot of snow out here in California, but in the mountains in the wintertime, you get some snow. And I remember driving back and they, the clients told me no, and they were, complete, jerks to me. And it was just the worst appointment. And I'm probably 21, maybe 22 years old at the time. And I'm in my little $4,000 Nissan pickup truck. And, I'm trying to close and I didn't close and drove all that way, wasted all that gas. In my mind, I'm like, I wasted all this gas and I'm driving home. And then I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, like nobody would be willing to do this. Like I'm gonna be so effing successful because nobody would like, only the craziest people would be willing to do this, to work all day long. I worked, from 6 o'clock in the morning, checking my pending all day long, prospecting and following up and phone calls. And it's 11 o'clock at night and I made $0. I mean, the whole day I worked all day long. I made no money. And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, there's no way anybody would ever do this. I'm literally, this is the greatest opportunity of my life because nobody would be willing to do this. And that's when everything snapped for me, where I said, I'm willing to do what other people aren't willing to go do so that I could have an extraordinary life. And that I think is the difference. And that's why you have an extraordinary life. That's why you've been successful, because you have your thinking right. You're going the right direction. You're creating, you're building, you're making progress. You're happy, you're positive, you're motivated. This is the difference. You're healthy, right? I mean, all of these things are a combination, right? I call it the puzzle of leadership, right? You put all these little pieces, these puzzle pieces together, and eventually it creates this awesome masterpiece. But you got to put the pieces together. You can't get wasted every weekend and think you're going to build a successful company. You can't go beat your wife and think you're going to have a successful company. There's just certain things you can't do, right? You can't, yell and scream at your people all day long and never build relationships and think that you're going to build a successful company. So there's all of these things that are vital, that are critical to the future of your business, and then of course the future of your life, that are dependent on certain things. I mean, if you have no discipline, you're screwed, man. I mean, if you have zero discipline, you're screwed. If you don't master your craft and get your mindset right, you're screwed. I mean, you can't make it in anything. It doesn't matter whether it be the roofing business or financial services. Ain't going to happen if you don't get certain shit right. And so powerful message today. Thank you, Dustin. I really appreciate you being on today. Kind of close us out with, tell us how to get in touch with you, how we can support you. Where do we find you? We want to follow you. We want to know more about you and connect with you, man. How do we do that?
Yeah. So the easiest way, obviously social media, Facebook, Instagram, I'm on there. Dustin Gutkowski. It's pretty easy. See it on there. But if you go to Instagram or Facebook, reach out to me, follow me. Any questions, reach out. I'd love to help. If people need advice, just, hey, if I don't respond right away, I will. But please do. I love hearing your story. I love if people have questions. It's part of what I do. So yeah, social media is the easiest way, man. And I look forward to hearing from it. And just want to thank you for having me on and sharing, man. It's awesome. And congrats, man. It's so many episodes. People don't realize how hard that is to do. And I appreciate your time, man. Appreciate the effort you put into this.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you, buddy. And for everybody that's watching, make sure that you reach out to Dustin, say hello, say, look, man, I found you. I know you now. I want to, I saw you on Daniel Alonzo's Wealth on the Beach podcast, and I want to, just tell him thanks, man. Tell him thanks for his time, for his wisdom, for, the great job that he's done in building a successful life. And we applaud that, man. Like, that's all I want. I just want to see people do good. I want to see people become successful. If some of you are wondering also, like, how do you know more about what happened to me? Check out my book, Wealth on the Beach. You can get it on Amazon. It's also on Audible, where if you just like to listen to books better, check that out. And then, of course, we do a coaching program every Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. DM me for more information on that. With that said, everybody, continue to dream bigger than ever. Get after it. But most importantly, do it now. God bless. We'll see you at the top.
Thank you. Appreciate it.